Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back with another recap or review, rant. I don't know what I'm calling this for Sister Wives season 16. We won't be here that long because this episode was a lot of what we always see. How dare they go to Coyote Pass as a family to have a socially distant barbecue and expect the bird to watch her own children? Don't they know that it is a struggle for her to keep an eye on not one, but two kids? Don't they know that that is not what she does? Don't they know that she is not capable of doing that because that is what the nanny does? Go ahead, do me a favor, hit the like button as we begin. So we start this episode with Cody making content because I refuse to believe that Cody is at Janelle's all the time. I refuse to believe that he really sits there and works out like this when he's in the house. I feel like Cody runs errands and Janelle is one of those errands because he's working out, making all types of breathy sounds as he lifts weights to what he tells us is canon in D. Very beautiful music, brings tears to my eyes every time I hear it. But knowing that Cody works out to it, a little odd to me. Janelle seems like she has a more broader ear because she says that that's not the type of music that she would listen to work out. She likes German industrial rock and older rap like people like Eminem. She says that, she likes to go to concerts and things of that nature. And the bird tells us that, yes, Janelle did like to go to concerts a lot back when they were in Vegas, and she would wear black t-shirts and heavy makeup. And the fact that she needed to say that Janelle wore heavy makeup rather than just saying she wore makeup comes across as a little snarky to me. There's this way that the bird speaks about Janelle where it's like she struggles to give her a compliment. And I feel like because in many ways, Janelle was her competition. At various times, all of these women have been competition. And currently right now that Christine is out of the running, her current competition is Janelle. So Janelle talks with Cody about having a farewell barbecue on the property for Hunter because Hunter hasn't been able to see the entire family all at once. He's going to be leaving at the end of the week to go to school. I got a little sad hearing this because I don't really feel like they took advantage of him being there. And I feel like that's so unfortunate given the situation. We didn't get to see a lot of him, so I don't know all what they did, but like it was like, yay, Hunter's here. I'm excited. My favorite's here, but I'm not really going to get to see him except for here and there and listen to him talk about the same thing that we've heard the others talk about. So Cody says he is okay with it, but he's going to have to get the family on board. Based on the last discussion, we already know that both Christine and Janelle are on board. So by the family, I think he's talking about the bird because Meri is going to do whatever Cody wants to do. And the bird is the one who seems to be causing him a little bit of problems, but he would never come out and say that. So excuse me, I just remember why I can't film this late. Sorry, I did not mean to pass that yawn through the screen. Cody tells us that with a family that's as large as theirs, that there's constant conflict as to what people want to do, that he has been the only one going house to house. So he's trying to keep exposure low, but still have family relations. I don't get this concept because he's clearly, if the kids are saying that they haven't seen you, you're not going house to house like you keep saying. It's to the point where I feel like he keeps saying it because he wants us to believe that when that's really not the case. He says that he's trying to keep the exposure low, but the only way you would be able to keep the exposure low is if once you leave one house, rather than going to another, you're quarantining in between each one of those visits. And we know that he's not doing that. So you're not keeping anything low. You're spreading it. It's been 5 months. And the pandemic at this point isn't going anywhere. So Janelle wants to make sure that they do something. Cody says, I'll set up a pit for each mom and Meri can just fit in somewhere, which shows that, in my opinion, he doesn't think enough of Meri to make sure that he sets up something for her. He said that they'll be distant enough so that each family can decide whether or not they'll wear a mask. He says he just doesn't want to hear any more complaining about it. So that decision could be up to, the mom and her kids, as long as they stay socially distant. He says the kids have been complaining about not being able to get together, but it is because the family is still going outside of their family. It's the same conversation in a different way every single episode. Janelle's like, look, we follow the state regulations and local regulations and the CDC guidelines, but when it comes to Cody and Robin, they observe something else, and they have no bend when it comes to it. It's just black or white. There is no middle with them. And that is true. I just feel like at this point, we get it. They don't agree. They don't want to meet with you all as a family. They don't trust you, and that's that. We see Cody go to visit Meri for the first time since he found out that Leon and Audrey was gone. At this point, all they have to show us really apparently is the move and this pandemic storyline. I just don't what are we doing here? This episode it was draining to me. Anyways, so Meri says she doesn't care what Cody wants to talk about because it's a win-win for her, because Cody is actually coming over. She says that people have said to her that she's brainwashed, that why she doesn't leave, that he clearly doesn't love her, why she's still there. Are you doing this because it's what's going to get you into heaven? And she says that, she stays because it's her family and because she has had confirmation from God that she's meant to be there. I heard her say that, and my first thought was, I'm glad I've never had that type of confirmation. Because if I was told to suffer, if I was told, oh, stay put and allow him to not treat you like you're human, to speak so ill of you, I will wonder, what have I done wrong that you want me to keep punishing myself by staying with this man? It just doesn't seem right to me. So they sit down, and initially Cody tells us that they're 6 feet apart, but then he thinks to himself, it's been 5 months and Meri's been very careful. So why are we keeping 6 feet apart? And he sits closer and they talk. Utah and Christine. One of the things that I've noticed is that Cody uses Meri. He uses Meri when he wants to have someone to talk to. He uses Meri when he kind of wants to just get yeses without a whole bunch of pushback. Because why are you coming to Meri if you don't consider Meri to be your wife? Why are you coming to Meri if you don't really look at her as anything but someone that you're being cordial with? It's just not making any sense. But he's a user, and he knows that she's so desperate to get back into the family and to be with him that she'll be willing to say and do certain things that the others won't. So they talk, Utah and Christine, because he has nothing else to talk about. He admits to Meri that he did want to move. Then he tells us, after talking about it on Coyote Pass, he did feel like they should stay. So then why, if you feel like you should stay after talking about it on Coyote Pass, are you still going from wife to wife to have this discussion? It's just another example of how he plays games. Meri's so desperate to be around him. She says, so wait a second. You're saying that when we were out on Coyote Pass and Christine brought up the subject of wanting to go back to Utah, that you wanted to go back to Utah too? And he hesitates to say yes, but he says yes. And she's like, oh, okay, because you seem like you were shutting her down, because that's what he was doing. He says, yeah, I was, but I kind of realized that I was being a jackwagon. And they're asked by production, what is a jackwagon? And he basically says it's a jerk, but it's a flip-flopper. Cody flip-flops. Janelle has said it on more than one occasion that when he gets around one wife, he'll say one thing, and then when he gets around another wife, he'll say another, to the point where she can tell which wife he's been around based on what he's saying. So my question is, why is it okay for him to do this and call it him being a jackwagon or the roller coaster ride that is Cody and things of that nature, and not required for him to do better? This is the man that you say is supposed to be the head of your household. He says, you can't beat this area. You can't beat Flagstaff, and we're kind of stuck here. He says, in plural marriage, it feels like someone controls your life because you always have all these other people that make decisions that you may not sometimes agree with. And now that Christine is on the outside, she's realizing that people control what she does. And that isn't her first time coming to this realization. They've all come to this realization at various points. So for him to sit there and try to single her out, it annoys me. We then hear from the wives about how frustrating this dynamic is. I don't care. Next, Meri has no desire to move back. She says that, she hates that she's having to say this because she feels like Christine may feel trapped there. And it's clear that Christine does. She says that, it's obvious that right now, this is a kind of a dark time and a difficult situation, and she just doesn't want to make it worse for Christine. But she's thinking about how things were, and that's why she was there for her when Christine was going through what she was going through on Coyote Pass, just like how Robin was there for her and supported her and helped her fight through her dark time. And as she's talking, it just goes to show you how naive and blind Meri is. Because Robin was conniving, and Robin has this way of blocking Meri sometimes, the same way that she did when it came to Coyote Pass later on in the episode. She has this way of blocking Meri sometimes, but then making Meri feel like she's looking out for her best interest. So Cody asks if Flagstaff is harder than Vegas, and Meri goes about this roundabout way to say that she does not feel like it's harder. She says that they have all gotten selfish though, and they're all used to doing things on their own. Cody says at this point, he wonders if everybody just wants to be to themselves, that he knows plural families that are in different states. So maybe Meri can go to Parowan, and maybe Christine can go to Utah, and Janelle and Robin could stay there, and they could be a plural family that way. Notice how even though Meri told him that she has no desire to go to Utah, he's still trying to put her there by saying that, and how quick he is to remove her from the equation with her being in the same state as him when she just clearly told you that she wants to be with you in that state. Christine says she would not be interested in a marriage that involved them staying in separate states. The Bird says, even though she doesn't want to go, if Cody were to decide to go against her and to move, then she would go with him. Meri says at this point, the whole relationship is fractured, so it wouldn't make a difference if she stayed or not, but she does feel like it would make it harder for them to try to reconcile if she was further away. I need Meri to stop with this reconciliation thing, because Cody quickly reminds us that the relationship with Meri is fractured, but there is no desire or interest in a romantic one for him, and he doesn't even know where they go from here. Yet another episode where he said that he doesn't want to be with her, but she still doesn't hear it. We jump to Janelle's house, where she lets us know that the university is opening back up again, which means Gabe is going to be back on campus, and he's going to be exposed to more interactions and more people. So Janelle has an apartment that is attached to her house that she rents. It has a bathroom, a kitchen, a washer, and a dryer. So she's suggesting that for now, that Gabe stay in that apartment and not come in the house because he's out at school and his girlfriend is back, so he's going to be around her. She says your dad would probably be more comfortable with that, and we have to make sure that we're still protecting everybody in the family. Cody likes to act like Janelle was so against him, but here she is pushing her son out of the house to go stay in this little nook studio type apartment, efficiency some would call it, to prevent Cody from being around him. And yet it's still not enough. She's like, the hard thing about it is she'll see Gabe's car. She'll see him if he walks, into that area, but she won't get to physically see him. And he's listening to this and he's pissed because he says, so basically the only way that I'll be able to see dad is if I get COVID. He says, if I get it and then I recover and that doesn't change the game, then it was never about the pandemic in the first place. Janelle said, Cody loves his boys and, everything, but he just doesn't trust their exposure because he's concerned about the whole family and transferring it from family member to family member. And she just doesn't know if he's going to feel comfortable even with a couple of weeks. And Gabe says, at this point, they don't even know what's going on and that there are no rules when it comes to this situation. It just seems like he doesn't see them. He thinks that them not locking down as a family is absurd. Well, Gabe, you already know what the specifications were and you're hanging out with other people. So how absurd is it really? What's absurd to me is Cody's going from house to house despite you not hunkering down as a family. Gabe said, my question is it Dad's rules or is it Robin's rules? And Janelle's like, I think it's Dad's rules. Gabe, as she says that, makes a face like, yeah, right. He's like a little smirk, like, yeah, right. He knows it's not true. Janelle says, I feel like it's Dad's rules because he's been talking a lot to his doctor and things of that nature. And Janelle says, at this point, when looking at this whole thing and seeing his frustration and all those other things, I just think that Gabe should choose his girlfriend over his dad. And I started laughing. She's like, he could always talk to his dad on the phone, but Gabe doesn't want to just talk to his dad on the phone because Gabe is used to interacting with his father. Christine said it a long time ago, and even Gwen at some point on her Patreon said it. And was it Patreon or YouTube? One of those things I saw her where she said it, where she basically said that the boys were accustomed to having Cody, that their dad was around them a lot, which he was because he used to do wrestling with them and all those other things. So they got to spend a lot of time with him. Excuse me. They were not accustomed to not having that time. And here you are having to adjust to not being able to have it and not being able to see it. So for them, this was harder. She's like, at this stage in his life, Gabe needs to pursue his life. Making your adult kids stay at home is detrimental to them. And at first I was like, ooh, Cody is going to hate that. But then I thought about it and I'm realizing that with Janelle saying that, it's more to the statement than just her saying like, just go hang out with your friends. I think whether we agree with Janelle or not, that she was considering the mental health of her kids. I think she was privy to some things that we were not privy to. And she does not want a repeat of what happened with some of her other kids. And she knows what isolation can cause. So as a result of that and how it affected her initially with her being to herself and her not having anyone, I think that she's looking out for her kids in that regard. So we're done with that. We're back to Cody where he goes to Robin's and act like it's his first time seeing her for the day, even though it's clearly not. Cody's there to pick up things for the fire pit. He says, we're going to dig 2 extra fire pits. If I do that, will you let Saul and Ari come? This is the same person who last episode said that Hunter could come over at any time and they could come and meet outside and socially distance. But here she's having to be asked if it's okay if they meet up with the family while socially distancing. And she has to think about whether or not Saul and Ari can come. The contradictions are just right in our faces. He says, I'll help corral them. She says, I don't know if they should go because they may sit there and struggle because they can't hug somebody or play with somebody. Once again, Hunter was supposedly allowed to come over there and see them. But here you are saying something different. You're talking about how you don't want them to see other people because they may want to hug them. So then how were they going to see Hunter? She says they were so upset when they couldn't played with Truly, and I just don't want a repeat of that. That what I need is for the older kids and parents to help so that I'm not the only bad guy. We're then reminded about how Cody had RSV when he was an infant. I don't know if it's an underlying health condition or not. They saying that it is, according to Cody, because it affected his lungs when he was young. He also then finally mentions Truly and her kidney failure. He did not mention that last season, but I guess he's going to mention it this one. He says, so there's a lot of people that he has to think about. He then says, Meri has been quarantining for weeks. So what do you think about, Ari sitting on Meri's lap because she's been quarantining? And the bird's like, I don't know. Well, what I don't know, I don't know if, I would be great with that. No. I would be great with that. I would be great with that. But how is everybody else going to see that, Cody? I don't want the others to feel like we're modifying the rules. She says, I've been very careful following your rules because I know that Saul and Ari can't be away from you for the 2 weeks that you've done with the other people because of their traveling and they're having people in town and stuff like that. And I'm looking at her like, okay, this is what she does. Because there are kids in the family at this point that have gone weeks, if not months at times, without seeing Cody. Ariella and Solomon could have done it. Would it have been hard for them? Probably, because they're so used to being coddled and having Cody and you there. They get a monogamous family despite the fact that you are supposed to be polygamous. And yet you want to sit here and criticize the others while trying to act like you're not. Cody says, I'm trying to check this with my wife, but it's obvious that Christine doesn't feel like we're doing the right thing because she's traveling. Then you got Janelle, who's going back and forth. Meri is quarantining so she can see Robin, and Robin has been sequestered. Meri is quarantining so she could see Robin. Meri is quarantining so she could see the family. It's not just about Robin, despite Cody always making it about her. She's like, and I thought, Cody says, and I thought that if everybody did that, if everybody quarantined, then we would be able to just see each other. And then Robin interjects. She says, everybody should have their choice. And so I guess that was the choice that, everybody got to make is, do they stick to your rules or don't they? Do we all unite or don't we? And I guess the freedom that everybody wanted was more important. And that's okay. I said, and I guess the freedom that everybody wanted was more important, and that's okay. Way to show that you don't like what they're doing and you're trying to make it sound like you're the good wife. And let me point out how the others aren't doing what you wanted, but I am, when really it wasn't what he wanted, it's what she wanted. She gets that it hasn't been easy on Cody, and it's just a shock, that he's willing to, give up on the family culture the way he is. So back on Coyote Pass, Hunter, Garrison, and Gabe are helping Cody prep the fire pits. It's been 5 months since the family has been together. Janelle is looking forward to them just all being in the same place to relax on the property. Janelle says, make sure that you all stay socially distant. Hunter says, as far as socially distancing, I'll respect it. But when it comes to the family and us socially distancing, I think it's dumb. Robin says she's just hoping that everybody respects Cody's wishes so that we can do this again. She keeps trying to convince us that it's Cody's wishes, yet it's not. Because how is it his wishes when he keeps turning to her to ask questions in regards to what's okay and what's not okay? He did it when he was filming with Meri and he was on the phone talking and he was too close, and then it started being a question and answer period with them. And then he did it again when asking about if it's okay if Ariella and Saul come, and now he's showing it again. It's not his wish. Everybody's there, including Meri. Christine points out that Cody needed one more fire pit and one more table because there are 4 wives, but there are only 3 pits. It's true. I think he should have did another one, despite Meri claiming that she doesn't need a fire pit. Christine then announces that Isabel is getting her surgery. She says they're going to do it where they cut her along the side. They're going to use fibers instead of rods, that she'll have a 4-inch scar under her arm. And as they were talking about this after, when they weren't around everybody else, Isabel told her that she wants a tattoo on the scar, and Christine, despite the belief system, said yes. She says Cody is against tattoos, but she's getting older. By the time she gets it, she'll be 18 and out of the house, so he can't say anything about it. They then talk about the surgery and how Cody can't come. He can come, he just isn't coming. Janelle's boys immediately start chiming in about how happy they are for her. And then Cody says, what's so much better about this surgery is that, this one has a higher rate of success, and you're not as likely to get an infection, as well as she's not likely to have another surgery. He says in total, Isabel is going to be gone for 6 weeks, and he cannot be away from the family that long. He keeps on trying to make excuses for it because he knows how jacked up it sounds. But the point of the matter is, at this time, they were doing rapid testing. They could have easily had a test done. He could have quarantined for a little bit longer if he needed to, spent time with his daughter, at least for the surgery part, spend the day after or so with her, and then leave. I'm not trying to hear his excuses. Robin says, that's exciting. She says, we've been on this journey with Isabel as she's gone through her scoliosis. And I'm listening to her, and I said, okay, there she goes speaking French again, because she's talking about OUI we or WE we, because I don't recall her going to any appointments. I don't recall her strapping that apparatus on Isabel. I don't recall her wiping away Isabel's tears as she sat there crying because of the pain she was in and because of how embarrassed she was about the brace and because of the teasing and things of that nature. I don't recall her telling Cody that they should go to the surgery. I don't recall her saying, Cody, don't worry about the kids not seeing you. Go to the surgery with your daughter. So how are you being a part of it? As this is going on, Ariella, Saul, and Truly are playing. They're being reminded to distance away from each other. She says again, let's just do this right so that Dad will see that we are doing this right so we can do it again. But Cody isn't the one who's concerned about them doing it right, because the whole time when this is going on, he doesn't start calling any names, telling them to separate. It's Truly and Saul and Ariella playing, and he's just watching and enjoying himself, making s'mores and eating hot dogs, and he doesn't say anything until he hears Robin saying it several times. Christine's like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I got a secret. My kids and I have hung out at Janelle's house a few times. I said, Christine's leaving. This was it. The fact that she said that, and you so easily threw Janelle under the bus, she's leaving. She said, I had to choose between Janelle and Cody, and I chose Janelle. He's going to hate that. Janelle says, I'm sitting out here on the property, and this just feels normal. We got the fire pits going. It's jovial. Everyone's here. It's wonderful. But we cut to Robin, who is losing it. She says, 6 feet is just not in their nature. Truly is running ahead of Ariella. But you hear Meri saying, not too close, Truly, but she's running away. So you need to say, stop Ariella or go with her, because Ariella is the one chasing her. Then you got the bird yelling for Meri to tell them to stay away from everybody. She then says, Truly, if she starts walking towards you, back up. How about you take your happy tail over there, bird, and go and be a parent? Robin is complaining about having to watch her children when they are playing at a socially distanced barbecue. What else are you supposed to do, bird? They're your kids, which means they are your responsibility. They're kids. They want to play. You should have brought something out there that they could have used as entertainment while remaining socially distant. There's tons of things that you could have done, but you all don't use common sense. So you see them fighting with sticks. Does he not have tons of swords that they could have used to be socially distant and you just wiped it down afterwards? Do you not have a long branch or something that you could rip off a tree? Like, there were ways that they could go around this. They could play hopscotch together and just take turns. Like, they didn't think about this situation. So Robin is trying not to get frustrated, she says. She's the one that's chasing the kids just like she thought she would, just like she thought it was going to happen. Well, they're your kids. And I know that she's accustomed to not having to parent, but this is what parents do, especially for children that are younger and children who don't listen. All right. Meri says, Ariella is only 4 years old and she's accustomed to being around Saul, so it's not normal to be away from people. Saul then starts to cry because Robin won't let him be and because she keeps fussing at him about playing. So then comes Cody, and she tells Cody, I'm trying really hard to follow the rules, okay? Once again, trying to act like it's his rules, but also saying, I'm trying and you aren't. You said you were going to help me and you were going to back me here, but you're not backing me. He says, I'm really aware that you're doing that. I'm supposed to help you, but I checked out. He then tells us that... What? Who wants to sit there and abide by these protocols for months and then get sick just because you let your guard down one time? That this is a burden to Robin. Then you see Dayton and Garrison talking. Dayton's too close. These are older kids, and Janelle even needs to remind him to back up. She's like, I need to respect your mom, Dayton, and he steps back. Then Cody starts yelling at Saul, saying you guys are supposed to be 6 feet apart. Christine is now trying to get Truly's attention. The kids are just excited to see each other. Robin tells Cody to make Meri a s'more. Meri gets excited about receiving the s'more, even though he was told to do it because he did it. Christine says, I was anxious about this, but once everybody got together, we were good. So the suggestion is made by Janelle that they all quarantine for like 2 weeks and then maybe they can spend the holidays together. Cody's like, maybe we could do Thanksgiving outside. And everybody's like, yeah, right. It's cold out here. Garrison says that my relationship with Gabe and Savannah have improved, but it's been at the cost of losing my relationship with Christine and Robin's kids. I want my family back. And as he was talking, I was like, oh my goodness, this boy. He's breaking my heart because he really wanted the family. It's them older kids, they were just raised differently. All of them are so much about the family, that you can just see how much it pains them. Not saying it didn't bother the little kids too, but I feel like it hit the older kids different because they experienced what it was like to live under one roof, right? Cody says, I know people who have nearly died from this. And Gabe then says he knows people who've gotten it with no symptoms. Him saying that kind of irritated me because you're trying to act like what Cody said isn't true. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Some people, it just affected differently where we lost loved ones. And for others, it didn't really, some people didn't even realize they had it. So to sit there and to say that, I just didn't like it. Some of us have told our stories, and I know a lot of members of our YouTube family, we've lost people. So when he said it, I was just like, this is the type of stuff that irks my nerves sometimes. It's like, come on, y'all, think about other people. Don't be so selfish. Janelle says, we don't get together as often, and if we, continue this, we're gonna lose sight of the whole. And that is how this ended. I know I left some parts out because a lot of it was redundant. If there's something that I did not mention that you would like to discuss, please leave it down below. Until next time.